The following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities Network.
Hello, welcome to Healthcare Facilities Network. I'm Peter Martin from Gosselin Martin Associates, and as always, thank you for clicking on this video, which is a first of its kind. We'll do more in the future. It is a video, briefer video than what we normally do, about a role that we are recruiting for. So if you are looking for a role in healthcare facilities management / hospital engineering, people call it different things, then listen to this role, which is for a director of facilities at Griffin Hospital, which is located in Derby, Connecticut. Derby is actually the smallest town in Connecticut, and Griffin is located to the south of Hartford and just a little bit to the northwest of New Haven. So it's a nice little town. Griffin Hospital, Derby, Connecticut. Griffin is 160 beds. It's an acute care hospital, which is about 400,000 square feet, and then there's about another 100,000 square feet in off-site location. So the director of facilities is accountable for roughly 500,000 square feet, about 19 FTEs, and so again, spread over an acute care hospital and the off-sites. Now, one of the things, each hospital, Jack and I worked once at a large medical center out in the middle of the country. And I've said this quote a number of different times, and it was an academic medical center. We were meeting with the chancellor. And he said to us, and it's a great quote that I've used any number of times, if you've seen one hospital, then you've seen one hospital. Because each hospital, even though the function is the same, is different. And so the purpose of this particular video is to talk a little bit about the differentiators of Griffin Hospital. And I'll be brief. To me, there's 3 or 4 things at Griffin. Now, we talk about in our class about what you need to really be an effective healthcare facility director, and this is a class that we perform at chapters across the country. One of the things is you need to find the hospital that best fits you and what you want. Now, Griffin is a community-based hospital. And there's lots of people who love working in community-based hospitals for a number of reasons. The square footage of 400,000 square feet means that a director is probably going to be visible. Sometimes you get into these larger organizations, 1 million square feet, the academic medical center that I was just talking about. You can get into a little more of a meeting rut. You can get into a little more of the political aspects. It's just a different environment, and it's a different vibe. And at a community-based hospital, and Griffin is no different, what they are looking for in this director is somebody who will be visible, is somebody who goes outside the office doors and interacts with employees, with their direct reports, with patients, with coworkers. So visibility is a key for this one. Obviously, technical knowledge is needed, so I didn't really mention that one. I probably should have mentioned that first. You do need the technical background. But Griffin has indicated to me that they would also be open to perhaps exploring somebody who doesn't have hospital experience but does have facility management experience. So if you don't have hospital experience but you do have facility management experience, you would be looked at a one-off basis. So that's actually a good thing. Excuse me, I'm going to take a little sip of coffee. We're recording this right after Thanksgiving. It came down with laryngitis the day after Thanksgiving. Couldn't really speak well, so the voice is still a little froggy, but it is a lot better. They're not looking for a froggy voice, but they are looking, as I said, number one, a leader who will be visible into a community hospital. I think that the motivation of somebody going into a community hospital has to be such that they're going to be out there and they're going to be part of that team. They're not going to be turning the wrenches. I guess you're not swinging wrenches. They won't be turning wrenches, but the desire to go out in the field and see what your guys and your gals are doing as they're working on equipment. So number one, community-based hospital means you need to be visible. So we're looking for somebody who has that at their core. This role reports to the president of the hospital, so you are granted visibility, which is a good thing. I know there are folks who like that too. There are various reporting structures that you find these days. One I've seen is directors of FMs increasingly reporting into procurement or materials management, which is an interesting one to me. But anyway, not for me to say, but reports to the hospital president, Patrick Charmel. Patrick has been there for a number of years, many, many years, very active in the community. And so you've got the visibility. Patrick, I've met with him. He knows that hospital. He's not a leader who doesn't know the hospital. If you are a viewer to the Healthcare Facilities Network, you saw the video I did with Robert Hacker and his CFO, Jim Corwin, probably a couple of weeks ago. And Jim and Robert had a really good relationship. And part of the reason they had a good relationship is because Jim was aware of what Robert was doing. And so Patrick is similar. He knows the facility. So this director is not going to be dealing with a person who's not aware of the importance of a building. And I think part of that comes from Patrick having been there so long, and also the fact that Griffin is an independent, community-based hospital. They are not part of a system. And when Patrick started there many years ago, the hospital, from a financial standpoint, needed a bit of a turnaround, and he's done that over the many years he's been there. And I think that Griffin takes great pride in their independence. There's a lot of great healthcare in Connecticut. Just to the north, you got Hartford Healthcare, and then down to the southwest, and really all over Connecticut. Now you have Yale New Haven Health, and you have Griffin Hospital, which is independent, wants to remain independent. And so I think that's an important thing too. I know that a lot of people these days, you work at a corporate type hospital, and I did before I transitioned many years ago. There's a difference between corporate management and on-site management. And I think at Griffin, it's going to be on-site management. And also, that's another reason that this director needs to be visible to the employees, because they really need to know what's going on in that hospital. We all know there are challenges these days in healthcare. And so you got to be up and aware of them. The other thing I would note about Griffin is they are a Plaintree hospital. And I don't know if you're familiar with Plaintree hospitals. I'll put a little information, on this video. But Plaintree is a system of care that is patient-centered. And as a patient-centered Plaintree hospital, their designs and their functionality of the hospital are all relative to the patient and the patient experience. When I first met with the folks at Griffin, it reminded me of a long-term care project that we had done. The hospital didn't remind me of it, but the concept of it. When we were building our long-term care facility, the kitchen was the core of the patient experience, and everything revolved around the kitchen and the dining room and the living room, and that was the central hub of the patient experience. Now, while the Plaintree model was founded on the belief that if patients have access to information regarding their illness and hospitalization, they can become active participants in their own health. And so I think that concept is found across Griffin Hospital. They've designed healing gardens, they've designed arts and entertainment programs, and so that's a different bit of a philosophy too, right? And so I think it speaks to a level of involvedness that's lead. They're very proud of that Plaintree designation, and if you were to go there and if you were to interview for it, you would find that. So that is our opportunity. If you are interested, I'll put a little QR code. You can click on this. You can shoot me an email, find out a little more information about it. But I think the highlights, the highlights of this particular one, and obviously there's so much more information that you can find, but if I'm looking at it from a big picture perspective, and what are we looking for and what are they looking for? Well, number one, you do need the technical expertise, right? You can't come into these jobs with no facility management experience. Number two, I think having at your core that community hospital, the want to be in a community-based hospital, where you are an active participant daily, where you're not behind the closed doors and you're not leading from behind, you're leading from the front. You're not turning the wrench, but you're going out there into the field to see what your electricians and see what your plumbers are looking for. So I think visibility would be number three. So we got community, we got the visibility, access to Patrick, access to the hospital president is very important. And then, the Plaintree model, the patient-centered concept is very important. So that's our role. Griffin Hospital, Derby, Connecticut, 160 beds, roughly 500,000 square feet. If you are interested, contact me, and Thanks for listening. One other thing I wanted to mention. All of our hospitals are located in communities. I always like to look at the community and see who's from a community, because you never know. It's very interesting. I checked out who's from Derby, Connecticut, and there were a couple of different people. Maybe this says more about me, but the one who stuck out to me was Brian Dennehy. If you are a movie fan, maybe if you're my age, I know Brian Dennehy best because he was in the First Blood. He was the sheriff in that. So Brian Dennehy lived in Derby during his early life. And there were other folks too, notable citizens: Clara Louise, Pierre Lallement, Stephen Whitney, and Isaac Hull, who was Commodore of the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, which is still in the water today, just about 23 miles to the north and to the east of me. So, if you're interested in the role, contact me. Thank you for watching. I'm Peter Martin from the Healthcare Facilities Network at Gosselin Martin Associates. As always, have a great day.